That's a tough act to follow. I want to go first next time. My husband is a methodical decision maker. And you will hear a laugh from the back because that's an understatement. So the methodical decision making of my husband, I realize now after 25 years of marriage, has saved me from multiple really bad situations why I'm financially solvent. But in January of 1992, it meant that we were seriously behind the 8 ball in acquiring the next stage of our training after medical school for residency. So by the time that he had decided that urology was the career for him, we had precious little time left to figure out where we were going to do our residency. So we found ourselves on a plane on the way down to San Antonio. We wanted to stay together. We wanted to be in the military because that was our best chance to stay together. We had a military scholarship, and we were on our way to San Antonio. He had in his pocket a letter from his program director that contained a string of superlatives that I would hesitate to use on my own beloved children. So the weight of making a good impression and getting into this program I really felt was pretty squarely on my shoulders. So it was with great disappointment that I arrived at the Department of Medicine's office the next morning to meet the chairman for my interview that I thought, methodically set up in the weeks prior to that, to find that I was not on his calendar. He wasn't expecting me, and they weren't really sure what they were going to do with me for the day. So this was not a good start to a day where I was supposed to make a really good impression and secure my future to be with my new husband. They made it work. I spent the morning meeting all the other people that I needed to meet, trying to do what you do during an interview for residency, which is to appear bright, to appear hardworking, to appear like a person you'd like to spend the night in an ICU with when you're both very tired. And I thought I did a relatively good job. Got back to the Department of Medicine chair's office about 1 o'clock. Still really didn't have time for me, and he said, well, listen, this is what we're going to do. I have to go give this presentation at Grand Rounds. Why don't you walk along with me? We'll talk on the way there. Okay, all right, very cheerful. My uniform is tucked in. I'm doing the best I can. We get there really quickly. I haven't really had a chance to talk to him very much. He sits me down in the audience of probably about 30 people, my peers and a couple years ahead of me, and he starts to give the case presentation. So he gives a case presentation. He's a nephrologist, so a medical kidney doctor, and he starts to talk about someone who has tuberous sclerosis and has hematuria. So that is, actually for medical people still very hard to understand. It's a pretty rare disease. And he's talking, and I'm noticing that people around me are kind of looking out the window. We don't have cell phones then, so nobody can look at their cell phones. They're staring at their shoes. They're doing it. Nobody really knows anything about this, except for me. So he is looking around, pretty self-satisfied that no one is going to know the answer to the next question, which is, does anybody know what happens to the kidneys of people with tuberous sclerosis? And it's pretty clear that nobody else in the room knows the answer to this. Now, in the movie version of this story, there's a flashback, 6 months earlier, right? And so 6 months earlier, you find me sitting in a dorm room, watching adoringly my dear husband, who in addition to being a meticulous decision maker, is absolutely terrified of public speaking. And he has to give an oral presentation to the entire surgery department on a case of tuberous sclerosis in a trauma to the kidney. Now, since he is terrified of public speaking, I have listened to this presentation, lovingly, respectfully, 17 times. So I know what there is to know about tuberous sclerosis in the kidney. And, so the hard thing for the director of the movie version of this story is going to be to convey to a lay audience how truly obscure, even to a medical audience, tuberous sclerosis is as a disease. And then to know a rare manifestation of tuberous sclerosis, which is that they get tumors on their kidneys, really inconceivable. Add to that the astronomical odds that the director of medicine will choose to present that case on the one day that I am sitting in the audience and ready to answer the question. I mean, I think you could really do like a little, like divine intervention. That's the only way that I possibly could know the answer to this question. So flashback to the present day. Everybody is looking anywhere but the director's face, except for me. So I'm looking at him, and he is pretty satisfied nobody else is going to be able, nobody knows the answer to this question. And I'm taking a moment to figure out how I'm going to present myself, because although freakishly smart in medical circles is usually a pretty good thing, like freakishly smart and going to stab you in the back is really not a good way to present yourself if you want to be amongst these people for the next 3 years. So I'm very slowly raising my hand. Very slowly raising. He's pretty sure now that nobody knows this, and then he catches my eye and he looks at me and he said, "Oh, Beth, do you know what happens to the kidneys of patients with tuberous sclerosis?" And I said, well, sir, I think they get tumors on their kidneys, sir. And he looks at me a little challengingly, and he says, "What kind of tumors do they get on their kidneys?" And I said, "Well, sir, I believe it's angiomyolipomas." And his jaw drops. Everybody in the room I can see is now looking at me. And so for like 5 minutes, I was the smartest person at Wilford Hall Medical Center. And I got my residency. We lived happily ever after, and that was the end.